loves us so much, we can't comprehend his love for us. Everything he does is for us to become happy. And he knows that this gospel will make us the happiest we can become. So he shows that to us by as we live it, these things they improve our lives. It improves our life. And it can improve your life. And you can see that as you start to do these things.
So we are currently in North America, and North America had a long-lived tradition. I don't know if it's still active. I'm pretty sure they're still active in parts of California, but not much of the North America anyways now. There used to be vision quests that people used to go on.
Quests?
Vision quests, yes.
Vision quests.
Vision quests. So vision quests used to be something which was taken up by the teenagers of those times. Again, we're talking very far back in the time right now. And so for them, it was a period of fasting in the woods. That was vision quest was, where you are spending time with nature and seeking answers from the nature at that particular point. And you do not return home, back to your family, back to your tribe, because those days were tribes, no home, till you get all the answers to your questions. Okay? This continued for a very long time. And this was something which is very interesting in history. And why I point this out? Because this evolved at the same time all across the world. Okay? And so this was something which was being followed by every single tribe during the times, probably that is before Adam and Eve as per Bible. Okay? I'm not refuting that, but I'm just stating what is established. It is still, why I'm saying this is still active in California, because there is an institution that is still keeping it alive. And there are tons of institutions in Southeast Asia that are keeping it alive there in different forms. Okay, which also was a primary segment on which the Buddhist practices were laid. Okay, very long ago. Buddhism is not a religion. It's just a way of living. It's not a religion at all. So through that derived Vipassana.
What is it?
Vipassana. So Vipassana is a Sanskrit term. So Vipassana means to see with a different perspective. Yes, different perspective. So I think somewhat similar is happening here as well. Bible is giving me a different perspective. And Vipassana did the same thing. It gave me, when I say me, it's not just me, I mean people who are doing that, them a perspective of how to visualize things that are happening around them, their regular decision making, the way they were living their lives, and the way they were interacting with people, the way even they were breathing, or when they were even breathing, when they were sleeping. It changed complete different perspective and made them so much more aware about the bodily functions and aware about every single momentary decision that they were making. And this continued for a long time. Then it died out in India. It spread all across the world during those days. But eventually, as you said, everything has its life. It dies out to come back again, right? Which is what Bible establishes as well. Same thing happened with this particular tradition of these vision quests. Until the modern times, I think some 200-300 years ago, when people found out about this and they brought it back into the practice in certain different locations. Since it's despite the technology that we have right now, it was really tough for people to make them believe this is true, right? So where I'm going with this particular example of vision quest is throughout the history of time, there have been many practices which are very, very particular to cultures, very particular to cultures. Cultures, when I say it, means the tribes that are living in particular region, right? Because of the continent, they were always separated when humans were evolving, or you say they were coming from 2 to 8 billion or something. So they all had their different practices, which largely stayed untouched for a very long time till we started the communication with different people from the different continents, which was something not there earlier. And this was one of them, which happened in somewhere in the Middle East, I would say. Once we are in North America, that's east, but still not very east. So I would say Middle East. And it gained a lot of expanse of a way of life. At the same time, or I would say around the same time, there was a different culture that was developing, which today is called Myanmar. Okay, there were same things that were developing, which today we know as China and Mongolia. Similarly, there were certain cultures that were developing in Americas, which we call today North and South America. Same time, things were happening in Middle East, which today is set to establishment of a whole religion, which we today call Christianity, which believes all that Bible teaches. But at the same time, there are cultures that believe their text teaches. Now, where things are beautifully connected in this whole circuit of different evolutions of human beliefs and spiritual values and definitions of gods and the teachings of gods, nothing was written because we didn't know how to write. Every single element was verbal, or through the pictures, or just a thought, transferred in a language that no other continent could understand, because they were developing in such concise, silos. There were no interaction for a very long time, right? So would that make other civilizations that were evolving with completely different set of methods to impart this thing and a language of speaking, but promoting the same or similar values and similar self-realization, would make any less impactful than that developed in one particular region?
So you're saying like is one...
What I'm saying is there is no one right thing.
Oh,
when they are all transmitting the same message.
Mm-hmm. So the reason we do say that we claim that we are the one truth,
yes,
the reason for that is because by what authority do we teach these things? Right? Mm-hmm. What authority do we have to say that we are correct?
You got it right.
And that's the priesthood. There's no other church, no other teachings, no other people on this earth that withhold and hold that priesthood power, which is the power to act in God's name. We do hold that, and Joseph Smith was able to restore that to the earth in the 1800s, and he was called as a prophet, as God worked with in times of old, and ever since then there has been a prophet. And so we hold that priesthood power, and we're able to perform these baptisms for people by that power, so that we can follow the example of Jesus Christ, so that we can enter in the presence of God.
And how does that refute or lay lesser the preachings of, let's say, Gautama the Buddha?
So what we also know is that pretty much all churches have truth in them.
Yeah.
Like you said, they're all very similar.
Yes.
They're all to worship God.
Not all said to worship God. No. Like Gautama never told to worship God.
Okay. But they all religions have truth, in the sense that they have, the way I like to look at it is all religions have pieces of a puzzle.
True, yeah.
They see different truths that they know to be true, that they teach. But what makes this church, the Church of Jesus Christ, unique is that all of the pieces of the puzzle has been revealed to the prophets today. To the prophet and apostles we have today, because they have that priesthood authority given to them from God. They receive revelation, and they are able to teach us we're able to see the whole picture of the puzzle. So yes, other religions have parts.
I won't use the term religion. I would rather use culture.
Okay. Yeah, same thing.
A lot of difference.
They all I mean same thing as in they all have pieces of a puzzle. They all have some truth.
Yeah.
But like I said, this church, the church that Jesus Christ established and restored through Joseph Smith, has all the pieces to the puzzle. And the only way that you're gonna come
verify
to know
that they are the all pieces, how?
Is to experiment on it, see for yourself.
And so Gaurav, that's how you say it, right?
Gaurav.
Almost, yeah. It's Gaurav. It's you may call it Gorav, which is easier way to pronounce. Gaurav.
Gaurav.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. if you're able to come to an understanding that what we're talking about is true, if you are able to come to that understanding, you're able to feel that.
As I said, I completely agree and I completely accept the discussion that we had.
Well,
There's no disagreement on that.
no, I agree.
The only question that I posed here is the belief that you have that this is the only original and the real religion. In this case, I would use it.
Okay.
And everything else that evolved over thousands of generations on this planet is not real. What brings you to this conclusion? This is my question.
That's what we're saying. They all have truth. They all have goodness.
They can be one truth. They can be just one truth. Everything else is just opinion. There's just one truth.
Yeah.
There cannot be multiple versions of truth.
Oh, sorry. Okay, there's one truth. They all have parts of that one truth, I guess.
Okay.
Does that make more sense? So this is the one way.
Yeah.
And a lot of them help us come.
So my next question would be, what authority dictates that they have just a part of the truth and not the complete truth? Who has verified that? Did you ever go?
God.
Did people?
God.
Did people say Joseph Smith maybe?
Yeah.
That was the name who established the Church of Jesus Christ again. Take the opportunity to go through other cultures and understand what they were trying to propagate, not through their religion but through their cultural practices.
Yeah,
If that was the case, I won't go deeper into this. North America had an amazing history of before they were eventually colonized and completely taken over by Europe to bring a new North America that we see today. Why were they completely uprooted? These practices were completely uprooted. If they tried to make a genuine effort to understand what those practices were, it couldn't have happened because all the practices were transferring the same message. Why was the message misunderstood? And why is it still being misunderstood? Is my question. That makes you only original because you are starting with the belief you are the only original. You're refuting every single other teaching that other culture is trying to propagate. Because that is why you're calling that you don't have all the answers. That is why you're telling them you are just a part of puzzle. Why are we not talking that they are also a complete puzzle?
Why aren't we saying that
Yes.
a complete puzzle?
Yes. What authority is dictating that you are the only complete puzzle and everything else is just a piece?
By what authority?
Yes. When you have not even gone through what they dictate in their culture.
No, I definitely understand where you're coming from. And every time, it's funny because we talk about this. Every time I look into, other cultures or religions, like you say, there's definitely truth. Truth, they have, like I said, parts, and there's definitely good teachings in them, right? They are doing what they believe to be true. They are doing the best they can to find the truth. And there's, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
The only thing that we're saying is God has revealed all the truth. And that's through the prophet today. And I know that to be true because of the effect that it has on my life. I am able to continue to keep learning and fill in every gap that I come across as I continue to live the gospel. And I haven't seen any other specific culture or religion that has been able
How many
to do
cultures
that
did
for
you
me.
get yourself introduced to?
Quite a few.
We talk to people every single day that have.
Oh, that's a completely different thing. That's a completely different thing.
I know, and I
You
still
won't
want
know,
to.
What happens in a vision quest until you go out for one.
Yeah.
You won't know what happens then.
Yeah, I agree.
The thing that he's kind of saying is, as we do look or see these things,
Yes.
the question that we always come back to is, does it give me as much as I've understood here?
Because this is your language, right? If I teach
English?
you anything in Sanskrit, you won't understand that because that's a different language I'm talking about.
Yeah, but if you
this is exactly
learn
what
the
I was
language,
talking.
then you can understand.
That everything was growing in a completely different silos, and the method that they used later on when human learned how to communicate was a different language.
I understand. I totally
No, I
understand.
definitely
We do
see
understand
what
where
you're
you're coming from.
Yeah.
We do.
That's what the church teaches, be open to learning.
For you,
other
this was
things.
easy to believe. This was very easy to find a good coordination, even for you. Was the reason being it was taught to you in your language, right?
There are a lot of people though that came from different.
No. Again, I'm not talking about the people who are bringing into this. I'm just talking about the evolution of this. when I'm saying evolution, I'm not talking about biological evolution. I'm talking the time 1800 onward. Evolution of this in one silo based on one language, and the evolution of other cultures, different languages, different silo. This is what I'm trying to say. This pillar never interacted with this pillar for a long time because we could not. There was no way to do that. The only way we ever connected was wars. This is what our history has come full of.
You know what's
wars.
funny is evidence of this is the Bible and the Book of Mormon. They were two separate pillars. They didn't even know each other existed.
Exactly, yeah.
Now we have records of that, and their teachings perfectly aligned.
Yeah.
Perfectly.
How does that work?
This is what I'm trying to
It's
convey.
because they both come from God. So you're saying that happens with other people.
They both pillars.
Yeah.
I'm calling these two pillars as different cultures.
Mm-hmm.
That Y is the complete pillar and Y is an incomplete pillar. What is bringing me to this conclusion is my question to begin with.
People across all time tried to get closer to God, right?
Yes.
They were all trying to do it.
And they are still trying to do their best.
They're still trying to do their best. Maybe, I'm just saying maybe.
Yeah, I like that.
They weren't as lucky to have had Jesus Christ be in their presence, teaching exactly as the Son of God what God needed them to do to return. They didn't get that opportunity. So they tried to do their best, but they didn't have everything that Jesus Christ taught. And so we cannot convince you of this. We can't argue about this. We can't keep arguing.
It's not about argument. I'm posing the last question of the day.
Okay.
And this question is, how do you know Jesus was Son of God? If I take the Bible away from you, how would you know? And who wrote the Bible when language was never something we owned? This is something which evolved over generations in the language which is in current form. How do you know?
Wait, how do I know
that Jesus is Son of God?
Is the Son of God?
Yes.
If I didn't have the Bible?
If I say today I am Son of God, how would you refute that? Just because it's not written in the Bible, would you refute that? If I say I am Jesus, would you refute that?
I would definitely have my questions and doubts.
Exactly.
But I wouldn't just cut you off. I honestly, if I would look into it.
Because if we didn't have the Bible,
yeah,
we wouldn't be here right now.
That's right.
So if I take the Bible away, there will be
That's God's evidence to us. The Bible is God's evidence to us.
So when I ask the question how we know how Jesus is Son of God, this is answered in the Bible that Jesus is the Son of God because Bible arrived before Jesus, right?
And that's why it's so important for you to ask God if it's true, because He will tell you. He will tell you.
My question is where everything began. When everything began with Adam and Eve, who probably didn't know about the Bible, because they could not read, of course, there was no language at that particular time. Would you agree on that? Was there any language that Adam and Eve used to speak?
Well, they spoke God's language when they were in His presence.
So did they write Bible?
They were cast out.
So did they write Bible? Or God Himself wrote Bible and gave to them? What's the origin? We don't know origin of Vedas. What's the origin of Bible?
They were ministered to by angels.
The prophets wrote their sections of the Bible, and it was handed down to prophet from prophet. And it was their records
and where all
their
began.
This
is the question that leads to Jesus.
Yeah.
Where everything began, that slowly leads to Jesus. Because each one of them were talking about arrival of Jesus in future, which people had a genuine faith, and they followed this gospel with a belief that there will be a time when Jesus will arrive and will do resurrection. If I'm
the atonement.
Yes, atonement. We had a belief on that.
Yeah.
And this was transferred from one prophet to the other, and I believe they came from one generation to the other, right?
Well, like we said,
not entire Bible was written by one person. No,
they were some of the prophets were killed, and there was no prophet throughout time. So exactly. God had to call another one. God taught them directly.
Yeah.
Teachings were always coming from God. It was not passed down from prophet to prophet. It was always coming directly from God. Prophet today is receiving revelation directly from God, not from the last prophet, but from God. So that's why all these teachings always stay the same. There was no evolution. It all stayed the same because the truth stays the same. Truth can't change because it's
What's the
truth.
Language of God?
We don't know.
What is the language of God?
Yes.
God, He can speak to us in all languages because He's all-knowing. I don't know the language of God.
Do you?
I have no idea.
Exactly.
I wish I knew that.
Those are the obscure questions
Those are
that
things
we don't need to understand to live with Him again.
We need to know how God speaks to us. That's through the Holy Spirit. That's how God speaks to us. So is that what you're asking?
No, I'm just asking when each prophet in different times learned from God, and there could be, the last prophet was in 1800s when English was very well evolved language at that particular point.
We have a prophet today.
Yeah, we have a prophet today.
Okay, so we have a prophet today as well who did not learn from the previous prophets, who did not learn from Bible itself because he learned from the God himself. Is this what we mean?
He learns from both.
So
we still have
coming back to the same question, when did Bible come into existence where it began to be an important document in this evolution?
Moses
Moses was the first person who
started to write
documented
records and to teach the things
Bible.
God was teaching him. Yes,
and he was one of the prophets, was he? So after Moses,
then there was
Jesus.
No, there was lots of prophets.
Okay.
That's what the whole Old Testament is. Moses wrote the first few books, and then there's prophets all throughout, like Noah, Abraham, Elijah, like Isaiah. There's lots.
And they all came in different times, right? And they did not take into account what previous prophets' teachings were.
No, they did. But then they also took account what God was teaching them.
So
that's why we have both. That's why we're telling you to take from these teachings, then also take what from God teaches you, because God will confirm these.
That's like saying everything you learned in 2nd grade math, you're not going to use in 3rd grade math.
Yeah, this is what my question is.
Yeah.
Is this what happened?
We're able to learn more, but it builds upon the foundation.
Okay.
As the foundation gets wider, we're able to learn more. And God works that way in all things, including this.
I asked this question that I'm going to pose right now. Please do not feel offended. I posed this question last year when I was in India. A person got offended and he left. So I was speaking about Rama, Lord Rama. It's very important. It's called reincarnation of Vishnu. Vishnu is one of the important gods in Hinduism.
Yeah.
Okay, and so this discussion started from random reading of Ramayana, which talks about life of Rama. Rama is considered God, or maybe earthly incarnation of God. I asked him, 50 years from now, once we go in 2060 or something, so much has been written about Rama, right? So Ramayana came into existence like some 1800 years ago in its current form, and it's there, and then stories evolved after Ramayana to make it what it is today. And it is still evolving. People always keep coming with a new story of Ravana, a new story of Hanuman, all these characters in that particular epic. A few years ago, we complete 20 years of Harry Potter came into the picture, right? In 1995, 96, whatever time that was. And so many stories, if you go to Mugglehead and different websites, evolved out of those base that was established by J.K. Rowling. People built up on that. And same as Lord of the Rings. People built up on that by something which was written 70, 80, 90 years ago. People built up on that. 60 years down the line, there will be far too many stories that will be added into it. So I asked him that, how can you prove to your great-grandchildren at that particular time, 50 years from now, that Ramayana is a true story? Indians believe Ramayana is true, they're stupid. It's not true. How would you prove that Ramayana is a true story and Harry Potter or maybe Lord of the Rings is not? How would you prove that? Because both of them had physical proofs. Whatever forts Ramayana talks about, they exist. Whatever Lord of the Rings talks about, it exists in New Zealand, right? In some form where you can prove in the future, this is how Mount Dome look like and blah, blah, blah. And similar Ramayana talks about. Similar Harry Potter talks about. There are places where these images that the author tries to portray in the books can be established, right? How is he going to prove that? And then he got so mad, he just left. That they call adharmi, means a sinner. You are a sinner and you will get the place in hell, blah, blah, blah. And he just left. He was an elderly person, so he could not take a counter statement to what he believed for all his 60 years of his life, right? But I hope, since we come from the same generation, you take in the positive aspect of this, because this is coming completely out of Inquisition and how I can transmit this real knowledge to the future, because I know Harry Potter is fiction. I know Lord of the Rings is fiction because I know they are. They were written right. Yeah. Harry Potter is written in front of me. And Lord of the Rings was picturized and calling it a fiction in
For the purpose of
yes,
entertainment.
just entertainment in my presence. But 50 years down the line, they will see this as another stories, and fiction of one generation become myth for the next. This happens a lot. If a fiction is given too much of attention, it becomes myth for the next generation, which is very well beautifully established by all the haunted places, right? Which have absolute nothing, but they propagate stories in different forms. I'm not saying stories of Jesus are myth. If so far you get this impression, no, this is completely wrong impression.
No.
Because when I'm following the year 2018, this means I believe that is true. And this is what I said on Sunday as well. I believe that is true. But how I'm going to explain that, and how, basis on this, I'm going to refute every other single culture's values and what they are trying to propagate in their own language and their own capacity, and call this one as the only truth, and everything else as a lie, or maybe not good enough truth.
Oh,
That's a pretty harsh way to put it, but
yeah, we
Yes.
don't want to put it that harsh.
we don't
I apologize for the choice of
we
words
don't
that I
put
had and the
down-
examples that I took.
I know, I see what
But-
you said. We
No.
don't put down any other religion in whatever way.
Yeah.
I've come to know for myself that what I'm teaching you is true, and that you can't receive this truth from any other
Yeah.
religion or culture.
And
Again, my only trouble
know that to
begins
be
when
true.
this claim comes. I cannot learn this through any other culture.
you-
This is where I begin to
Yeah, we-
lose the connection
we
somewhat.
do.
This
claim-
gives me a sense of ego. That, okay, I'm doing something which nobody else is doing. And ego is a trigger of the sin.